Peace. Family, come on in to something I wanted to quickly share. Quickly, not a long one, quickly share. I just literally heard got me thinking. I just literally heard a 10-year-old boy talk to me about hell. And the way in which he described it was so vivid. Do you know what I mean? And it was and as a 10-year-old, I guess as their imagination you would guess is actually quite vivid. And it kind of made me realize that in this 10-year-old psychology, right, like he's very fearful of this place, this hell place, right? And I'm speaking to him and I'm literally thinking to myself, this is really just in your head, my boy. This is really in your head. And thank you very much, Romy Tomlinson. It just kind of made me think that psychology has a big part to play in everyday life. Because I was on my Facebook also, and I there was this other guy who said he said something, and I kind of got into an altercation, a kind of back and forth with him about God being human beings' alter ego, okay, and God is basically an extension of the human being's ego, and it's all in the psychology. And obviously he thought I was blaspheming and stuff, which is fine, but I kind of realized I got back to the time where I used to be a Christian. I kind of went into my brain and said, how did you think when you were a Christian? And I thought to myself, all of that stuff that I thought about Jesus and heaven and hell and all this kind of stuff, it really was I was really locked in that psyche. I was really locked in that psychology. I couldn't see any way out of it. And it's just very interesting that, somebody said something about me going to hell yesterday. And I actually made a comment. I said, well, I hope they've got golf courses in hell because I need to work on my swing. And some people were like, oh, what? Like, why are you talking about like hell like that? Like, it's a real place. And I'm like, it's not to me. Because in my psyche, it doesn't exist. Like, it's literally a place that human beings made up. And people that are locked in the psychology of this thing can't get their head around that. And it's very interesting to kind of watch them, get really shocked and upset and angry at the fact that I said stuff like that. And it's like, well, it's actually not my reality. It's actually your reality. And so the reason why I can say stuff and joke about hell and joke about heaven and joke about guys flying off into the sky on a winged horse and all this kind of stuff is because it's not my reality. It's an alternate reality to mine, so I can make a joke about it because it's not real, but it's very real to you. And it made me realize, well, I already realized, but it just got me thinking about psychology and how everything is in the mind. Like, literally everything you speak about, everything you talk about, every situation I guess you're in or you believe is literally in your mind. You can talk yourself into feeling bad, right? And you can talk yourself into feeling good. So it's like everything is psychology, man. Like everything, like watching this 10-year-old boy attempt to like tell me about hell, and I don't know, to me I felt a little bit sorry for him because he really believes this stuff, and he's actually having anxiety about it. Like, when you see a 10-year-old having anxiety about something, and it's like, wow, like he's actually locked himself in his head in this room where hell exists, and he's really anxious. Like, he's 100% anxious about this thing. And I'm like, wow, like I wish I could like say, you know what, don't worry about it, it's just bullshit, really. Like, you don't have to believe in it. And so and that fear, right, that fear that he has was real to him. Like, and I saw it, I saw it in his face. Like, that fear was real. And I was like, wow, that's what I must have looked like to people when I was describing hell when I was a young child, you know, like, and when I believed in it, and when my whole psychology was, you know, locked within that whole paradigm. And yeah, it's just really got me thinking, like, everything is psychology. Like, even me trying to understand, like, people, like I said in my video yesterday about trying to understand, sit down and talk to a member of the KKK. Some people think, what? Why would you even entertain a member of the KKK? And I'm like, well, for me, I either want to know if what they're thinking makes sense or it doesn't make sense. Same thing with a religious person. So if like I said, if a KKK member, you know, said something to me, and I'd actually want to probe his psychology and try to understand exactly, why do you think this? Like, why do you think this? That's what I want to know. I want to know why, because once we break it down, we can show it to be bullshit with a lot of things. Like, if we don't, environment is a big factor in psychology. It is the real true slayer. It is. So, like, if we break down and go into your psychology as to why you think a certain thing, then we can show it to be bullshit, you know, and then people can ridicule you and say, you know what, you know that what you're thinking is bullshit, right? Like, when we break down the psychology of, you know, believing in stuff, like, why do you believe in a god? Why do you believe in a talking snake or something? Why do you believe in, like, why? Like, if I actually want to go inside the psychology and break down exactly why you think these things and how you came to that conclusion, because I think with that, you kind of bring clarity to the situation, and then you can say, you know what, most of the time it's really a mental box that you created for yourself to exist in. Like, you created that mental box to exist in, and you actually don't have to live in that box. You don't have to. It's actually a choice. You can live in a mental box of religion, or you can live in a mental box of, you know, hell, or you can live in a mental box of depression, or of happiness. Like, it's like it's like it's funny because I used to see people, I remember back in the day, we see like people of the Hare Krishna faith, like, you know, walking down the street banging on tambourines, and they just look so happy, and I was like, the fuck is wrong with them? And I was like, now I'm thinking, literally, it's just a state of psychology. Like, in their psychology, they are 100% happy with themselves, right? And they have talked themselves into being so friggin' happy that, you know, they want to walk down the street and bang tambourines. And I'm like, all right, cool, that's not hurting anyone. That's a great psychology to have. And so, yeah, like, I want to kind of, I want psychology in, just for myself. It's not for everybody else, but just for myself. I think psychology is the way in which I'm going to get a greater understanding of the world, of the human beings that inhabit this world. Let's say if I'm trying to understand human beings, I need to understand the psychology of them. And I don't, and I said I don't even mind understanding the psychology of every kind of person, because if people don't like Sarah Garvey, or people do like Sarah Garvey, I want to understand why. Do you know what I mean? Like, if people like me or hate me, or if even if they hate you or like you, if you get the chance to sit down and actually analyze and talk to them, like, on a one-to-one, and without all of the emotional baggage, just see if you can actually, what's this guy want? Yeah, just see if you can actually break down psychologically why they feel a certain way, because then you can show it for what it really is. I guess you can show it for what it really is, man. Yeah, I'm just having one of those days where I'm realizing, you know, like, if I woke up in a bad mood, I'll be like, yeah, well, you know what, bro, like, you actually got a choice now to actually be in a bad mood or get yourself out of it. It's all in the mind. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain things you can change, certain things you can't, and you know, change the things that you can, and the things that you can't, fuck them. You know, just, you know, have that feeling inside you. Sorry, someone says, how can somebody with such a common sense take that religious serious and feel the zeal provided in mess? I don't get that. If religion gets you through the night, it's all right. Just don't use it to control others. Nothing is religious unless you perceive otherwise. Music helps a lot of the time. Yeah, I guess music can help. It's a good day, nice day for the living. Yeah, it is, man. It makes you strong and makes you understand your own self-worth. Yeah. For real. Religion is an instrument of slavery. Okay, I wouldn't disagree with you. You learn from all the people you meet, if they have a little brain, that is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like breaking down, this is why it gets to a point where people think that when I mock someone, or when I mock something somebody says, or something, you know, that they find, you know, they hold dear to their heart, they think they can't understand why I'm mocking it. And I'm like, the reason why I'm mocking it, right, is because I've broken down the psychology of it, and I've actually realized it doesn't actually exist except in your mind. And I've said the same thing to people: the only gods that exist are the ones that exist in your mind. That's it. For me, God exists in the mind. God doesn't exist anywhere else. We can't even find God outside of your mind. I'm telling you, where can you find God outside of your mind? What, is he on the street? Is he in the next house next to you? Where's God? Except for in your mind. Because you believe it. So God exists. That's why I said to people, God exists in the book. That's where God literally lives in a book. Because I've said to people, just close the book and talk to me about God. And then they say, oh, but the Bible says. And I'm like, no. Without the book. Thank you. Without the book. No, but the Quran says. No. Without the book. Talk to me about God without the book. And they can't. So that's why I said, well, then God must exist in the book then. That's where God comes from. God must come from a book. No, God doesn't come from a book. Okay, cool. Well, then talk to me about God without the book then. That's all I want. Just talk to me about what God is without the book. All right. And then the Quran says, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, seriously, does your God live in a book? No. That's why I said God lives in your head. For me, God actually lives in the head. It's all a psychological exercise, guys. It's all a psychological exercise. And I'm telling you, when I freed myself of that fear of hell and that fear of damnation and all that kind of stuff, it was just like, whoa, man. I look at people and I'm like, I'm not even scared of that shit anymore. Like, I used to be petrified of hell. Literally, I used to shit my pants, man. As a child, that shit shook me up, you know? And it was real to me. I was like, shit, if I do that, Jesus is not gonna like that, God's not gonna like that, and I'm gonna go to hell. And I was anxious, and I had anxiety about the shit. And I was a child, and I'm like, I ain't got time for this shit. I'm a grown-ass adult, I got bills to pay, you know, I got children to feed. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, there is no hell, except for the one you create in your mind, and except for the one that's been created in books, and the one that people believe in. Now, you can believe in it if you like, that's fine. But believing in something doesn't necessarily make it true, you know? It just means you believe in it. And so psychology is everything. Why does racism exist? Why does sexism exist? Why does any kind of ism and schism exist? You know, there's an argument for the reason why sexism exists, especially if you go to psychology. Why would men feel the need to assert their superiority over a woman? Why? Normally, they would say that a bully, there's something going on in their psychology, why they feel the need to assert their dominance over somebody. It can come from insecurity, right? And so there's a theory, let's say, there's a theory that men have always seen women, they've always felt like their ego needed to be stroked, and they have always felt like they were the dominant one, but there's only one thing that they cannot do, and that is give birth, right? So it's to give birth, because if no one was giving birth, then we wouldn't all be here. But with the ego, how do you rectify that? You know, like, there's a thing called vagina envy, literally. Like, if you go to the religions, and I think vagina envy came out in the religious text, especially the Abrahamic religious text, where you literally have symbolically a man giving birth to a woman. Adam symbolically gave birth to Eve. Now we know man can't give birth to anything, right? But what the men did is write into the religious text, God did it, and say men gave birth to women. It's like, no, we never. Like, come on. Let's be realistic. Like, there's nowhere on this planet you can find man giving birth to woman. But what you've done is that you symbolically made men. That can't happen. It's what we call vagina envy. And that is a lot of the reason psychologically, if you go in sexism, you know. So everything's in the psychology, man, for me. Like, you know, I was having a conversation with this Hebrew guy, and he was talking about, you know, men need to be worshipped by their woman. I was like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, why is your ego that big? Like, why is your ego so big that you need to be worshipped? You know, because that's in his psychology. That's in his psychology. Like, and the Hebrew Israelites in America are very interesting to me. They're a bunch of men who are like hyper aggressive, they think of it as hyper masculinity, but I think of it as hyper femininity, because they are very emotional. They are a set of very emotional men, and they display that all the time. They display their emotion, you know, like I say, leaky mangina syndrome. Like, they're always on their period, you know, they're always fucking pissed off about some shit. And I've said that's like PMSing to me. So I don't get the hyper emotional state that a lot of these Hebrew Israelite guys, you know, are in all the time. You know, I'm just like, bro, like, that's not manly, bro. It's like, that's just, to me, that's not manly. And they think that is manly, and they've got, you know, a lot of women that follow them, and, you know, I don't know, they think the alpha male is the one who shouts the loudest and, you know, has the most emotion as men. And I'm just like, dude, like, seriously, like, that's not manliness to me. But then, you know, I'm just gonna say the American black male, if I'm honest, is probably the most emasculated male on the planet, which is probably why the American black male gravitates towards Hebrew Israelitism, because it gives them a sense of dominance, superiority. You know, you can stroke your ego in that religion, because your ego hasn't been stroked otherwise. You've been emasculated throughout the whole of your history in America. Okay, and so if someone gives you a book that says, hey, look, you can be the dominant one, it's like, yes, I've never been the dominant one. Yes, I can do this. And so they run with it. Like, they run with that, like, hook, line, and sinker. Like, they go for it all. They go all in with that shit. And I'm like, nah, that's too much, because now you're overcompensating for your emasculation. You know, like, you know, just, that's what it seems like to me. I think, like, especially with those Hebrew Israelite guys, they're overcompensating for their inadequacies. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. I can sit down with the Hebrew Israelite and speak to them about it. I don't mind. But that's just my view on that thing there. Well, I'll go on to the scientific community. He says, scientific method, psychology, sociology, chemistry, biology, history, all together to get an answer to any question. Yeah, it says Black Eyes TV7. I agree, man. I agree, man. Allied Atheist Alliance, Sahara Garvey made some motivational speeches. Well, hopefully, because that's what I'm bloody going to the continent to do next year. Sahara on tour. Hashtag Sahara on tour. January 2019. I start my tour on the continent. You know, just let that be known. Just gonna put that out there. Things have been confirmed. You know, so yeah. I hope I do some bloody motivational speeches. The Alhamdulillah virus causes one to separate themselves from God and slice their foreskin. Listen, man, the Alhamdulillah virus is it's an interesting virus. That one gets you emotional too, that Alhamdulillah virus. That's a very emotional, you know, hypersensitive. Yeah, I don't know, like that that whole thing there, that whole manliness to me is like, nah, that's not manliness to me, bro. Like, getting so emotional is not manly to me. I'm sorry. It's not. Like, if I can't have a conversation with you without you getting like hyper aggressive and hyper emotional, then I question your manhood, you know, because I've seen children that aren't as emotional as a lot of these guys that claim to be, you know, Muslim or Hebrew Israelite. It's just like over emotional little babies. Voodoo Vid. I don't know who Voodoo Vid is. Jacket. Not even women get violent during their periods. Yeah, but the thing is, I think men substitute their anger with violence, you know, and they think, yes, I was violent, which now validates them. Like, violence validates a lot of people, you see. And I've always said violence is a last resort for anything, you know, but it shouldn't be the first go-to, you know, after you can't, you know, break an argument. Violence is not the first go-to, you know. But yeah, I haven't got that long fame. What do you call a ham sandwich? Alhamdulillah. Okay. Oh, guys, but yeah, guys, that's all I want. The fam, don't hit me. Hang on, what did that say? Been wondering about that, Sarah. We call it manhood, but not just adulthood, because we're describing childish behavior, not saying women's behavior. True, it could be childish, behavior, but then some children aren't that. Most children are that emotional, I guess. I guess. I'm not on this. Oh, what you said this, and you can't say that, and I'm angry, and I'm upset, and you're not allowed to say this, and it's like, oh, shut up. See, just shut up. No one's got time for all of your emotion. You know, I've said to people, if you come to speak to me, I'm really not your shrink, and I'm not your psychologist. So please leave your emotion at the door and let's have a conversation like adults. Like, don't come here with all that bloody leaky mangina syndrome. I ain't got time for that. I just want a conversation. I get enough, you know, emotion at home with the woman. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to be like, I don't need to be taking on your emotion too. Okay? So, yeah, just leave it there. Leave it there. Psychology is energy, and energy is psychology. That is everything. Did you ever have a fight at school over whose dad is tougher? Nah, I never had that fight. I never had that fight. I know a lot of children that did though. When a Muslim's ever happy, said Sophia Film. But yeah, fam, let me roll out. I hope you lot enjoy the day. It's a nice little day out there, man. Weather's nice, sun's shining. Getting my vitamin D intake, and I hope that too. Sarah, you know, you could just lay off that topic. It sounds to be doomed to repeat as the impression tends to be. Tara, form. It just did. I don't know the ins and outs, bro. The thing actually is psychology. The human need to know everything. I actually believe, right? We are. It's my. I don't ever feel like we're ever gonna know everything. I think there's been too much history gone, too many years gone for us to know absolutely everything. And so I think when you get very religious people and you have a different view, and they say, yeah, well, explain this. And I'm like, bro, I don't know if I can. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know if I can. There's too much shit gone by for me to explain that. I weren't there when it happened. You see? You can't explain that. And I'm like, still doesn't validate your God though. So I don't know. Like, just because I can't explain something, it doesn't now validate your God, you know, like it doesn't validate your stance. So I think that game is also human ego, the need to understand and know everything. That's also your ego. I've actually come to the conclusion that, you know, I'm probably not going to know everything. There are things that we are going to know, things that we're not going to know. I guess some things are just like, we're not going to know. But yeah, I've been trying to roll out for a while, guys. So yeah, listen, you lot enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy the sun. If you're in the UK, if you're elsewhere, please enjoy. You know, I don't know what time it is where everyone is, but you know, as we like to say, peace, family, peace.